So now we get to the 30 Years' War. Now, the Holy Roman Empire finally cracked. The religious tensions had become too severe. Thus, the start of the conflict began with what became known as the Defenestration of Prague. This one event would cost the Holy Roman Empire dearly. And what it was Protestants in Bohemia threw Catholic ministers out of the windows in the courthouse of Prague. Thus, the term defenestration literally means to throw out a window. And this allowed Austria to attack Bohemia. The main issue with that is Bohemia was protected by what was known as the Protestant League. And this was made up of mostly Northern Europe. So you have Northern Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. And they were going to fight against the Catholic League. And this was made up of Spain, Austria, and other parts of Southern Europe. The balance of power was quickly shifting. And being the ambitious new leader Gustavus Adolphus was, he saw an opportunity to expand his influence southwards. So he decided to intervene. Recognizing the opportunity, he joined the Protestants, right? He would lead the league against the Catholic side. His tactic of shock and awe was particularly effective against the Austrians. And basically, what he would do is he would utilize his biggest weakness. His biggest weakness was the fact that Sweden was poor, right? They were unable to afford the heavy artillery that would just bombard the enemy. So they had more mobile artillery. And this allowed for greater mobility than the Austrians, and the Swedes quickly defeated their armies. They were able to so effectively defeat them that the Austrians were forced to hire mercenaries to fight against the superior Swedish forces. Now, this became rather significant because one of the mercenaries was a man with the last name of Wallenstein, and he would prove fatal. But that's getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's first talk about the Swedish Games. Well, during this time, the Swedish forces were securing several parts of the Baltic coastline. Sweden had fought against Russia and took the province of Ingermanland in Kexholm. And this was around here, near Karelia on the map and Ingrim. And this effectively cut Russia off of the Baltic Sea. After this, Sweden also secured more ports on the Baltic Sea from Poland and Lithuania. This secured the entirety of the eastern Baltic coastline, and Gustavus Adolphus was able to control the trade, and he secured the front of the Catholic waves just from his northeastern home base. But here we get to the Battle of Lutsen. Now, the Swedish forces were not invincible. This fact was proven at the Battle of Lutsen. As strong as they were, the Austrian forces, under General Wallstein, were attempting to cut off Swedish supplies, and the Swedes followed his army. They attempted to fight him. The day ended in a Swedish victory, but at a great cost. Gustavus Adolphus himself lay dead with some 6,000 men, and the Swedish were forced to retreat. Thus we get to the conclusion of the Swedish intervention. After the death of their king, the Swedish forces were forced to retreat. The Swedish people no longer wanted to continue this war. It had costed their beloved king, and it was just too much. And as I stated before, the Swedes were poor. The French had given them some money to continue the fight in the 30 Years' War, but it just wasn't worth it. And this left the Protestant side without a leader. France would later take the reins, but the Swedes had already withdrawn to the defensive at that point.